Hello and welcome to Resilience and Relationships. I'm Stephanie Olson. I'm here with
Rebecca Saunders.
Awesome. Yay. Okay, so this podcast was not planned. We did not have any intention to do this podcast until this weekend when we found out that one of our reels got a lot of attention. So they say there is no bad press, but it was a little overwhelming the amount of comments that we got. We received a text from our marketing and content coordinator, and she said, just want to bring to your attention, there are a lot of comments on one of the reels, and they are all negative. And I thought, okay, what controversial reel did we post? We must have posted something about how it's important to snake handle and, I don't know, wrap your
Something
children
crazy.
in something crazy. But no, it was the podcast on why it is important, or the reel. That's what it is. Was.
Seems like a pretty mild statement to me.
Yes. So let's just play that reel really quickly so we can actually hear what it says. Ah, the controversy.
There it is, the craziest thing you could have said.
What a controversial message. Yes. Now, then it just went a little crazy. And I don't want to show all of the comments here just because some of them are absolutely not appropriate.
Yeah.
But look at the mad face. Can you see the mad faces down here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have some comments on this. And one of them, I love this one because of how we talk about intrinsic value. This
No.
thing that's referring to us, by the way, is not human. It's human nature to help and love. That is what one of them. Some of them dropped massive F-bombs. One of them called us a Nazi. Oh, here's a good one. You should be forbidden giving advice. Why do we have family? I love that one. That's good. But, just stupid. Yeah. Literally, though, none of the comments were positive at first.
Which is insane. So much reaching.
I don't even get it. Like, I seriously am trying to wrap my brain around looking at that reel. Now, we didn't have the podcast attached to it, and we're going to start making sure that link is attached. But looking at just that reel and saying, oh my gosh, these people aren't human, because you should be forced to kiss grandma, or you should be forced to have someone touch you if that's what other people want for you, child. I was blown away. I mean, they're just really hateful comments. And then one person posted something, learning bodily autonomy starts at a very young age. The one brave soul who conquered the negativity. In fact, this was kind of funny because one of them was actually in a different language. And Jessica said, well, maybe this is a positive comment. And then she translated and she's like, nope, that is not positive. Okay. So one brave person. And then we got a few other people. And what was fascinating was in a couple of them, dialogues started happening. And one in particular, where the guy originally just said something about how awful we are, and our post was ridiculous. The guy, I'm actually going to read it. I'm not going to share, but I'm going to read this here. Okay. So this guy said, wrong. You absolutely have to hug your grandma when she comes to visit. WTF is wrong with people today? Is this feminism? Okay. I'm just not even going to respond to that. And then another person posted to that guy, this organization seeks to end human trafficking. A significant portion is carried out by relatives. If the kid doesn't want to kiss grandma or sit in a creepy Uncle Sid's lap, let them say no. Brilliant.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. Shout out to Jeff is who we are shouting out to. And then this guy said, absolutely agree that no child should be forced into unwanted touching, but children learn empathy partly through reciprocal affection. There is a risk of the child losing out on lessons in compromise and emotional generosity, and a lessening of familial emotional bonding. There probably is a healthy balance found somewhere between these two extremes. Jeff said, "That's not what your OP said." And this guy said, "That's because you made me think more deeply on the subject. Thank you for that."
That's exactly what we want. That's great.
Yes. And this is, and then we posted, "Hey, listen to the original podcast. Thank you for that dialogue. That is what we want. We do not want people to be fighting." And well, I mean, the whole intrinsic value piece, right, is part of
Right.
what we
You don't need
teach.
to insult.
No, I don't get it. So I love that a dialogue was started. It was literally insanity in my mind. Some people still didn't agree. Okay. Here's the thing. My family unit now had a lot of trauma in my life, yes, but my current family unit is solid. Grandma is a safe place. We are blessed in that. And my kids want to hug grandma. That's awesome. And grandma wants to hug them. That's not the point at all. The point is, if our child doesn't want to hug or touch somebody, take grandma out of the mix. They shouldn't have to. And that includes parents. When my son was 13 years old, he's such a hugger, and I love hugs from my son, even to this day, even now that he towers over me. But he is a great hugger. But when he was 13, that was the first time I went in for a hug, and he didn't want to give me a hug, and he turned away. And I was like, oh, my mommy heart was broken. But if I would have said, "No, get over here and hug me right now because that's what I want," I would be teaching him, you don't get to say no. Now, we have a great relationship. He hugs me all the time. So I didn't teach him to lessen family bonds. I didn't teach him that hugging is something he should never do. I taught him he gets to choose that. We don't have to hug people. Yeah. Your
Well,
thoughts?
and like, imagine that in an adult to adult interaction too. Like if you're at a family reunion and you're, I don't know, cousin, someone you're not like super close to, it's like, hey, give me a hug. And you're like, I'm good. And they're like, no, give me a hug. Like
Yes.
awkward. No one would look at that and say, that's a normal thing. So I
No.
think we need to remember that like children are whole people too. And they have just as much of a right to decide if they want to give physical affection. And we also know that when kids are practicing setting these boundaries, it sets them up for future safety and success.
Right.
Right. And so this is one of the most loving things that we can do is letting them practice setting those boundaries in a safe environment.
Exactly. And I think that is the key piece. We are not at all saying kids shouldn't hug people. That's not what we're saying. Hugs, I'm a hugger. I love hugs. They're amazing. What we are saying is that if your child is uncomfortable hugging someone or touching them or allowing somebody, it doesn't have to be a hug, it can be whatever. Listen to them, because there is a reason behind that. And that reason could be, you know what? I don't feel good in my skin right now. I don't feel comfortable hugging you because I'm not comfortable right now. It could be, I mean, you think about like logistically, logistically is probably not the right word, but think about when you have been sick or you have a
Mm,
fever.
gross.
Touch feels terrible. Like it hurt. It's almost like a weird thing. So maybe there's something they can't communicate to you that they're experiencing that makes them not want to hug. But I think what is really important is after this exchange, we got an email. We got an email from somebody who had experienced this very thing in their childhood. And I want to share this because it is powerful. It's a powerful email. And of course, this person did not feel comfortable posting this. No doubt why. I mean, seriously, uh I wouldn't want to jump into that fire fuel if if you know you're going to be attacked, right? So this is what this person emailed, and I think this is so important. I'm just going to read it. When I was 7 years old, my foster mom took my brother and me to J.C. Penney for professional photos. She didn't know that at the time, my older brother had been sexually abusing me for years, and I was very uncomfortable around him. The photographer, also unaware, asked me to pose for a picture sitting between his legs. I begged them not to make me do it because I felt so uncomfortable being that close to him. After crying and pleading with both the photographer and my foster mom, I was still forced to take the photo. They wouldn't end the session until it was done. I wiped my tears, forced a smile, and got through it. To this day, my mom still has that picture hanging in her house, even after I explained why I looked so upset in it. My brother has the biggest smile while I'm clearly uncomfortable and pretending to be okay. That experience is why I believe every child deserves the right to say no, even to something that might seem harmless, like a hug or a photo.
I feel like I'm going to cry.
I know. That is powerful. And my guess is the people that responded negatively, and I don't know this to be true. I think sometimes people respond negatively even if they, that was a touchy subject to them to respond so viscerally to that reel. And so I was going to say maybe people responded negatively because they don't understand, but I almost think the opposite might be true.
Maybe they do. Yeah.
Maybe they do understand, and it affected them in a way that really caught them off guard. I don't know, but that story says it all. And that is literally why we say we have to give kids the right to say no to those things, because we don't always know the full story.
Well, and the person who sent this in, I mean, I don't know that person's whole story,
Yeah.
but I think it's a safe assumption to say that if you are in a family where you're being forced to have physical closeness, or I'm sure at times some type of affection with this person, you don't feel like you can disclose to those parents, right? Because they don't think this is a big deal. And so, I mean, there's just so many ways that this can branch out and affect someone.
Yeah.
And I think
Well,
that, go ahead.
no, please.
I think that sometimes we confuse refusing affection with disrespect. And that's just not true. We have to break that connection in our minds.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, with my kids, right, I don't force them to hug, high five anybody, but you will acknowledge another person. That doesn't have to be people. And we can still work on being respectful. You know, we can wave goodbye, you know, but I think that we've been so
conditioned,
yes, to you give hugs and kisses goodbye. That's what you do.
Yeah. It's true. It's it's really hard. I love this email. I just thank you to the person who sent that after seeing this, and I really appreciate the vulnerability and willingness to share that story. I think we forget that we have a responsibility to protect children. That's the bottom line. And interestingly enough, you said, you made the comment that this, you don't know this person's whole story, and they probably didn't feel comfortable disclosing. But even after, because the writer said, even after I explained why that picture, why I look so uncomfortable in that picture, it still hangs on mom's wall. And so I think that's also very telling.
I mean, I feel like I would want to burn it.
Oh,
you know, just knowing what's
yes.
happened. I
Yeah.
hate that.
I know. So, the other thing I wanted to talk about with this very topic, though, so that's one piece, like why we said what we said and what it meant. And I'll stand by it. I'm sorry if you think we are feminist Nazis, which I don't know.
Doesn't
Anyway,
just
doesn't
together.
go, but okay. I'm sorry if you think that. You are entitled to your opinion. However, the hostility and the anger, I don't know, the hate that was brought out on us for saying this was striking.
Yeah.
And we have to stop that. I mean, we did a whole podcast on how
Don't do that.
how we communicate online says a ton about you. Point taken right there. If you're dropping F-bombs or you're calling someone not human, like it is not human because we have an opinion that you disagree with, that's a problem.
Right. Let's talk about the issue, not the people.
Right. Right. And you get to disagree. That is the beauty of all of this. You get to disagree. Now, here's something also interesting. This was Facebook that all these comments came from, not Instagram, not LinkedIn, not YouTube. And so I do think that I don't know if there's a generation thing going on there. Obviously, we don't know how old these people are, but I mean, what are your thoughts there?
I definitely think that there is more than likely a generational difference. We know that the Facebook crowd tends to skew a little bit older than, who we're seeing on Instagram or
Mhm.
TikTok. And so I'm wondering, how many of these it's, well, this is what I grew up learning.
Right.
This is what it needs to be. Or how many of the people who are offended by this are that family member who they feel
Mm,
maybe insecure about a relationship with a child in their life, a niece, nephew,
yeah.
grandchild, whoever. And so they're
Right.
like, no, I need you to affirm that we are close through this.
Wow. That's a really good point. Yeah, because you don't know. You just don't know. Now, I will also add that culturally there are some differences. So, we're in the US. Not all of these comments were US based. And I do recognize that there are cultures, and again, I'm not going to say this is right or wrong, but there are cultures that really hold on to that mindset that no, the elders in our family or in our community or whatever deserve respect, and this respect looks like this. I know that's a thing,
Yeah.
and that is a whole other topic, but gosh, we just need to be respectful. You can disagree with everything we say. I have no problem with that. I would be happy even to have a dialogue with you, a healthy debate on this topic. And it would be kind of fun. Actually, I say this loosely, but it would be fun to bring somebody on that completely disagrees with a topic and have a legitimate debate. I
I
think
would like,
that would be I do too. I think that would be awesome. But the ground rules would be you have to be respectful. You can't start attacking the human being for what they believe in, and you have to stick to the topic at hand. So disagree with us all you want, but stick to the topic at hand and share with us in a very respectful way why you disagree. That would be my advice.
yeah, I totally agree. Consider this an invitation. Email us.
Yes, that would be interesting. Now, it wouldn't be live and we'd get to bleep things, but but there is no reason to just drop the F bomb, tell someone to F you because you disagree with them. Really?
Helping
It's not a
anyone.
it is not. And I don't even know why are you sticking up for grandma? Is that what's happening? Because I'm personally a big fan of my grandma when she was here. I'm a
Grandma's
really big fan of my kids' grandma. Oh my gosh, it wasn't about grandma.
Thank you. Like, at least as far as I've seen, anytime someone leaves a nasty comment, they don't even feel better either. Like, they're just doing a
No,
it literally helps no one.
I know. Does that help somehow? F you. Ugh, now I feel really good about myself. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's ridiculous. So I think we're just all about protecting kids. That's it. We want to stop human trafficking before it starts. And there are some key things you can do to actually stop human trafficking before it starts. There really are legitimate things. One of them is teaching youth that they get to say no, teaching them consent, bodily autonomy. That is a thing. And here's the other thing, because you kind of brought this up about adults. So you think about all of the essay that happens all over, the gymnastics coaches, the school teachers, that all of the things. And somehow, are you saying that that is okay if it's someone after a certain age? I honestly think it was because we were calling out family members and grandma, but here's the reality. There are grandmas who are traffickers. There are grandmas who want to do harm. And so if you say every single, it's like the role conversation. Not all people in the roles they are good, positive influences. There are family members that are dangerous. There are moms and dads that are dangerous. There are teachers. There are law enforcement officers. There are pastors. We have seen it over and over again. And that's why we teach people it can't be a role that you're looking at to see who is a trustworthy person. It's got to be those characteristics of a trustworthy person, not a role.
Right. That is so true and so important. And I think too that we need to respect other people's relationships. Like, just because I
Yeah.
feel close to someone doesn't mean my daughter does.
Oh, great point. Yes. And we don't know why that is. And I think that, abuse happens in secret. It just does. We don't know. So I was adopted by my dad. My bio father was a bad guy, abusive, gone. My dad, who was an amazing man, adopted me when I was 6 years old. My mom is my bio mom. And there was a family member who treated me very differently than treated my siblings, who were my mom and dad's children, bio kids. And I never told anybody. It didn't happen in front of anybody. It happened all behind the scenes. It was just me. And it was me and this person in a room by ourselves when it happened. But because I didn't want to hurt anybody, I didn't say anything until I was an adult. And so I I think we have to remember that whether it's abuse, whether it's treating someone poorly, whether it's whatever it is, that happens behind closed doors. That happens in private. Children don't often, or always, I should say, disclose immediately for whatever reasons, for the family dynamics, for fear of something bad happening, whatever. And so I love the point that you just made, because you may have a really good relationship with somebody and you might be completely unaware that this person is treating your child in a totally different way. Yeah. So we just have to remember that. Yeah.
And it's not to scare anyone, because I think sometimes this can feel just scary,
Yeah.
of, okay, well, I'm not in control of what's happening and there are lots of good people in the world too. But we need to be
Yeah.
sensitive and aware.
Right. Right. So, interesting conversation. This is a whole different topic, but it seems like there's so much anger out there right now. Just
Mhm.
so much anger. People are just angry. And I think it's just easy to take anger out on somebody you do not know. And, that's making a public comment. But, we're real people. We're not bots. We have feelings. And I have thick skin, whatever, but that's not the point. The point is that we want to protect children and stop being nasty to each other. Be kind. And I love that all of the people, and I just want to point this out, all of the people that disagreed with the original post, the original people. So all the people that agreed with us, all of the people that were commenting and saying, "Wait, think about it this way," were so kind and so polite. So just give that some thought. You lose your argument and you look rather foolish when that's your argument. F you. I mean,
Right.
I
That
don't know.
tells me that you don't actually have anything to say against what we're saying.
Yeah,
Just don't like
exactly. Yeah. So just be mindful of how you come across online. Ask questions. If you disagree with us, ask questions, sincere questions. You don't have to be a jerk. I think that there is actually space for a very important dialogue, and not everybody's going to agree with us. That's okay. That's okay. But when you disagree with somebody, disagree in a way that is respectful and then think about what the person is actually saying. Because we're not saying grandmas should never be hugged or kissed. Not saying that. I think grandmas should be, if they're good people. Kiss your grandma if she's a good person. That's my but if she's not, you don't have to. Just gonna say it. Yes. Anything else on this, Rebecca?
I don't think so. Just be
Yep.
nice.
Be nice. And thank you again to the person who shared that really vulnerable story with us, that email. That said it all. And that's exactly, it's because of you that we do what we do. This is why we do what we do. So thank you for sharing your story. And yeah, let's just be respectful. Bodily autonomy. Whoa, good stuff. And give kids the opportunity to say no when it's important, because you never know, there might be a really good reason they're saying no, and maybe just dig a little bit. So yeah, so with that, go get some R&R. We'll see you next time. Bye.